All right, welcome to Browns Lab. It's the second edition, second episode of Browns Lab, featuring Peanut, the Browns fan Labrador Retriever, and the host, myself, Aaron Gorley, as we answer some questions. The NFL lockout is finally over. The battle of billionaires versus millionaires ended in them both still being rich. So we are back to football, which is exciting. It's nice to be back. It's nice to have something actual, more concrete to talk about. We talked about a lot in the last Browns Lab episode about free agency. One of the things that I kind of mentioned in passing is that Tom Heckert, our general manager who makes all the personnel decisions of who to pick up the free agents and whatnot, he basically likes to build teams through the draft. So to draft really well and then kind of go from there with everything. So we kind of expected him not to go crazy in free agents and just pick up every free agent there was and whatnot. But he really kind of stuck to that. I mean, Browns barely made any moves. Wasn't very exciting. I was a little bit disappointed. But they did pick up some solid people. The Browns picked up Usama Young from the New Orleans Saints, who was actually a backup there. The Saints have just fantastic safeties and cornerbacks there. So he was just really a backup there. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays up on the Browns as probably a projected starter. Another move the Browns made, probably was a little more exciting, was they signed Brandon Jackson, who was a running back from the Green Bay Packers, who of course won the Super Bowl last year. So it's really cool to see them pick somebody who had a lot of success and whatnot. He'll probably be a second or third running back. I love this move because Montario Hardesty, the Browns' second running back behind Peyton Hillis, although he looks like he's incredibly talented, he's been injured a lot. He injured a lot in college, and then last year he missed the entire season because of injuries. So it was a really good move to pick up really good insurance playing with that. Also, he's a really good pass catcher, which would be good for the West Coast offense. The Browns also traded for a 7th-round draft pick for just a solid offensive lineman named John Greco from the Rams, who, of course, our current coach, Pat Shurmur, was the offensive coordinator for the Rams last year. So Pat Shurmur knew this guy, knew he was really solid, knew he could get him for pretty cheap, so he did it. Browns also signed a bunch of rookie free agents, basically people that didn't get drafted that played last year in college. A few different receivers, dude Chris Matthews, who is probably the best of the group from Kentucky, the guy L.J. Castile and Juan Nunez. So it'd be kind of interesting to see how they all play out. These rookie free agents, usually one or two of them every year, will end up making the team and actually playing someone. Josh Cribbs, of course, a couple years ago was one of these rookie free agents. He played quarterback at Kent State, wasn't nearly good enough to be a quarterback in the NFL, but he was a fantastic athlete and was able to make the team on special teams and just ended up playing good. He's going to be a receiver for us. The Browns probably still might pick up another free agent or two. There's a guy, Lofa Tatupa, that's how I say the name. It's kind of a hard name to say. He's a Polynesian dude from that plays for the Seahawks, but he was a linebacker that actually played for Mike Holmgren back in the day. So it'd be interesting to see if they pick him up. He's really good still, but the Seahawks wanted him to he has a big contract, wanted to take him a pay cut, and he basically said, no, I don't want to get a pay cut. So they cut him the team and whatnot. So it'd be interesting to see who he goes to. It'd be nice if the Browns pick him up. Like to see a little more depth at linebacker. And there's been some injuries we're only like this third day of training camp. There's been a couple injuries already. Mohamed Massaquoi, most people thought was the #1 receiver, ended up coming to training camp to practice with basically a walking cast on. So he hurt his ankle or his foot or something. So it's going to be a couple weeks before he's back. It'll be interesting to see. So they might still pick up another wide receiver. And Eric Wright last year as well, who was planning, the Browns thought they were going to sign him to be like sort of a backup cornerback. Played pretty terrible last year. He was just without a doubt just played awful. But he played pretty good the previous years before. So we're kind of hoping that he's going to re-sign. But he actually took a pay cut to be on the Lions, and he probably needed a change of scenery after all of the time in Cleveland that didn't go so well. So it'll be interesting to see how it happens. So, all right, we're gonna answer a couple questions from our mailbag from those who emailed the Browns Lab at yahoo.com. It's our email address if you have any questions for next time. This question comes from Jim in Parma. It says, how will the lockout affect this season? Okay, so it's kind of an interesting question. The truth is, no one knows. No one has any idea how the lockout will actually affect the NFL because we've never been here before. This is kind of uncharted waters. Back in '86, '87, there was we ended up not having a year, and they had those replacement players in, and that happened. Spurned the movie with Keanu Reeves, called The Replacements, and it was all about the replacement NFL players and whatnot. But really, we have no idea. Probably one of the biggest things might be like some injuries. There might be a little bit more injuries this time of year. It's kind of a toss-up because, one, these guys are a little bit more well-rested because they don't have to go to any team practices. But they might also not be in as good of shape. So there's that fine line between getting rest and still working out kind of thing. And if these players haven't been working out good on the off-season, a lot of them have been working out on their own and exercising and training on their own. If they're not very good at training, they could end up getting injured more. And possibly some of these teams might be less prepared. That'd probably be the other thing that it might affect. Looks like the Browns are doing pretty good so far. From what I've heard, the practices have been running really smoothly so far with that. So, all right, on to the next question. This comes from Jim Gorley from Geneva, Ohio, who's my father and everything. So he actually had a question about Peyton Hillis. He basically said, will Peyton Hillis get 1,000 yards rushing? We talked about that last time, Browns Lab, with the Madden curse. Now that Peyton Hillis is on the Madden cover of Madden 2012, so it'll be interesting to see. But I think yes, I think he's going to get 1,000 yards. If you look at our coach Pat Shurmur, when he was running the offense for the St. Louis Rams last year and the year before, their running back Steven Jackson, who's just really good, definitely as good as Peyton Hillis, possibly a little bit better because he's had more years of really good production. But he had 1,100 and 1,200 yards rushing when he played with Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur likes to throw the ball more, but when he does rush it, he makes to try to make those running plays really, really count. So we'll see. It's possible that Peyton Hillis, with the good backups they have, Montario Hardesty and Brandon Jackson, might get a little bit less than 1,000 yards. But I think he's gonna be really, really close if he doesn't get it. So, all right. This last question that we have comes from Peanut, our Browns fan Labrador here. His question was, do they allow actual dogs in the dog pound at Brown Stadium? Unfortunately, Peanut, the answer is no. I'm sorry, baby. But I tell you what, maybe we'll try to sneak you in if you look like a human enough. So we'll keep dressing you in some cool clothes, and we'll see if we can't sneak you in. So, all right, that's about all for Browns Lab this time. If you have any questions that you want to be featured in Browns Lab next time, you can email us at brownslab@yahoo.com, and you can have your question on the next Browns Lab. So long.